Imagine scenes of intense shootouts, legendary gunslingers, and daring outlaws. The Wild West holds a special place in American folklore. The exploits of cowboys and lawmen have fueled countless myths, and often their deaths were just as dramatic as their adventurous lives. However, for other famous figures, the end came in surprisingly simple and ordinary ways, blending into the true narratives of the West. They didn't fall in epic duels, but to the harsh realities of surviving for years in that unforgiving environment. In this video, we're going to reveal how 8 historical figures from the Wild West really met their final fate. Number 1. Imagine a fearless woman in the heart of the Wild West, navigating between outlaws and shady characters. Her name was Belle Starr, and her life was an intricate web of adventure, danger, and mystery. Though Belle wasn't necessarily a notorious criminal, she was famous for her associations with some of the most infamous outlaws of the time. She was only convicted once for horse theft, for which she served 9 months in prison, but she never faced any other formal charges. However, her ties to the underworld were undeniable. She married twice, and in both instances, her husbands met tragic ends in shootouts that echoed across the plains. Years spent alongside dangerous figures eventually took their toll. On an ordinary day, while returning home, Belle was fatally shot twice in the back. The person behind this cowardly act remains a mystery to this day, shrouded in rumors and speculation. Some whispers suggest her own son, Ed, might have been connected to the crime. Number 2. Picture one of the most legendary outlaws of the Wild West, Jesse James, whose name was synonymous with adventure and danger. His daring exploits caught the attention of Missouri Governor Thomas Crittenden, who personally decided to put an end to the crime spree led by Jesse. After a botched bank robbery, Jesse and his brother Frank disappeared to avoid capture. Tired of life on the run, Frank chose to leave the world of crime and seek a quieter existence. Without his brother by his side, Jesse had to recruit new partners, but trust in these new members was shaky. This is where Bob Ford enters the story. With his brother Charlie already part of the gang, Bob saw an opportunity when he learned about the generous $10,000 reward offered by Crittenden for Jesse James's capture. Ambitious, Bob convinced Charlie to conspire against Jesse in exchange for the money and an official pardon. The Ford brothers grew even closer to Jesse, even staying at one of his homes. On a quiet day, while Jesse, feeling at ease, took off his coat and set aside his guns, he stepped up on a chair to dust off a picture on the wall. It was at that moment that Bob made his move. Taking advantage of Jesse's vulnerability, he drew his gun and shot him in the back of the head, killing him instantly. Number 3. When we hear the names Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, we might picture the iconic performances of Paul Newman and Robert Redford on the big screen. But the real characters behind those nicknames lived adventures just as thrilling as what was portrayed in the movies. Butch Cassidy was the leader of the notorious Wild Bunch, a gang of outlaws known for pulling off daring heists, often making off with an impressive $35,000 per job, a fortune in those days. The key to their success was Cassidy's meticulous planning. Every detail was carefully orchestrated, making the gang nearly impossible to catch. After years of living dangerously and defying the law, Butch and Sundance decided it was time to turn over a new leaf. Looking for a fresh start, they ventured to South America, trying to keep a low profile and leave their past behind. However, temptation found them again, and they allegedly got involved in a lucrative robbery in Bolivia. It didn't take long for the Bolivian authorities to act. The cavalry surrounded the place where the duo was hiding, leading to an intense shootout. During the gunfight, one of the men was wounded. That same night, 2 gunshots echoed in the dark. By morning, the bodies of 2 men were found with gunshot wounds. Sundance Kid had been shot between the eyes, while Cassidy had a self-inflicted wound to the temple. But the story doesn't end there. Questions and heated debates arose about whether the men killed were really the legendary outlaws. Reports and supposed sightings of Butch Cassidy continued to emerge years later, fueling the mystery and legend surrounding their names to this day. Number 4. Picture a young man whose name echoed throughout the Wild West, Billy the Kid. Though they called him a kid, his actions were far from childish. By the age of 18, he had already taken the lives of 17 people, becoming a living legend and a nightmare for the authorities. Years passed, and the fearless Sheriff Pat Garrett took on the mission to capture him. After an intense manhunt, Garrett finally managed to arrest Billy, who was brought to trial. The verdict was unforgiving: guilty, sentenced to hang. But Billy wasn't the type to go down easily. Just before his execution, he orchestrated a daring escape, killing 2 guards who stood in the way of his freedom. News of his breakout spread like wildfire across the plains, and Garrett didn't rest. For 3 months he pursued Billy relentlessly, following every lead and rumor, until one tip led him to Maxwell Ranch in New Mexico. Moving silently through the darkness, Garrett entered the room where he suspected Billy was hiding, waiting with predatory patience. When Billy entered the room, perhaps feeling safe, the silence was shattered by a single gunshot. Garrett's precise bullet ended the journey of the legendary gunslinger. However, as with many great legends, Billy the Kid's death raised more questions than answers. Many wondered, was it really him, or just an unfortunate look-alike? In the years that followed, 2 different men claimed to be the real Billy the Kid, keeping the mystery alive. Their claims, however, were never proven, leaving a cloud of doubt over the true fate of the young gunslinger. Number 5. Let me share with you the fascinating story of Buffalo Bill Cody, one of the most iconic figures of the American Wild West. In the late 1800s, he gained worldwide fame with his spectacular traveling show, Buffalo Bill's Wild West, bringing the excitement and adventure of the frontier to audiences across the globe. On January 10, 1917, while visiting his sister in Denver, Cody passed away from kidney failure. In his most recent will, he expressed a deep wish to be buried at the top of Lookout Mountain in Colorado, a place known for its breathtaking panoramic views. However, the harsh winter made the trails to the summit impassable, with snow blocking all access throughout January. Determined to honor his last request, the funeral home took extraordinary measures. Buffalo Bill's body was preserved in cold storage for 6 months, requiring the embalming process to be performed 6 times during that period. Meanwhile, a heated debate arose among fans and locals. Some believed he should be buried in Cody, Wyoming, the town he founded, following the instructions of an earlier will. After months of debate and uncertainty, the decision was made to honor his final wish. Buffalo Bill was eventually laid to rest at the top of Lookout Mountain, where the vast landscape seemed to touch the sky. However, as with every great story, rumors and conspiracy theories emerged. Some speculate that his body may have been secretly moved to Wyoming, fueling mysteries that continue to this day. Number 6. Ever wondered what it would be like to live in the American Wild West, facing danger at every turn? Calamity Jane not only lived that reality but also left her mark on history. Her nickname, Calamity Jane, perfectly captures the adventure-filled and challenging life she led. To survive in a world dominated by men, Jane often disguised herself in men's clothing. She took on tough jobs like working as a Pony Express messenger, and some say she resorted to unconventional means to make ends meet during the hardest times. Her courage and skills eventually landed her a spot in Buffalo Bill's famous Wild West show, where she wowed crowds with her sharp shooting and horseback riding prowess. With fame, however, came notoriety for her love of parties and hard liquor. That bohemian lifestyle took its toll, and Jane's battle with alcoholism became a constant struggle. Despite her strength and determination, she passed away at the age of 51. In a poetic twist of fate, Calamity Jane was buried next to Wild Bill Hickok, her old companion in adventures and celebrations. Although it's said that Hickok didn't share the same romantic feelings Jane had for him, their final resting place together adds yet another intriguing chapter to the legend of this extraordinary woman. Number 7. A young man named Bat Masterson once lived as a fearless gunslinger. His life took an unexpected turn when he met the legendary Wyatt Earp. Seeing Bat's potential to be more than just a man of guns, Earp encouraged him to help bring order to the rowdy Dodge City, Kansas. With his 2 brothers already serving as lawmen nearby, Bat decided to take on the challenge and pinned the sheriff's star to his chest. His journey as a sheriff was full of ups and downs. Among his achievements, he managed to reduce crime and establish a sense of justice in the town. But not everything was smooth. One of the darkest moments was witnessing the murder of his brother Ed, a loss that left a deep scar on him. Tired of the constant confrontations and longing for peace, at 49 years old, Bat decided to leave behind the sound of gunfire and the sunsets of the West. Alongside his wife, he moved to bustling New York City. There, he reinvented himself as a newspaper correspondent, writing stories and reports, and even served as a U.S. Marshal for a time. One morning in 1921, while sitting at his desk writing, Bat Masterson's heart suddenly stopped. He passed away quietly, leaving behind a legacy that spanned from the untamed plains of the West to the skyscrapers of the big city, always seeking justice and adventure in every chapter of his life. Number 8. Imagine a 16-year-old girl with a determined look and an incredible skill with a rifle. This is Annie Oakley, whose unmatched talent not only dazzled crowds, but also paved the way for many women in a male-dominated era. Before becoming a legend in the world of entertainment, Annie, born Annie Mosey, was visiting her sister when fate stepped in. The owner of a local inn organized a shooting contest, pitting her against Frank Butler, a renowned marksman. The challenge was simple. Out of 25 birds, who could hit the most? Frank, confident, hit 24. But Annie, in a stunning display of accuracy, hit all 25. Surprised and impressed, Frank couldn't help but be captivated by this extraordinary young woman. What began as a friendly rivalry soon blossomed into a deep romance, leading them to the altar and nearly 5 decades of life together. They toured the country with Buffalo Bill's famous Wild West show, where Annie shined as the unrivaled shooting star, inspiring people of all ages with her incredible performances. However, time brought its challenges. Annie's health began to decline, and she eventually succumbed to anemia. Deeply heartbroken, Frank passed away just 18 days later. Though the exact cause of his death is unknown, many believe that losing his great love was a blow he couldn't recover from. Today, Annie Oakley and Frank Butler rest side by side. Annie Oakley and Frank Butler, an eternal symbol of a love that even death couldn't separate. Their lives continue to inspire, reminding us of the power of passion, skill, and true love.